Hey, this is Brandon from BiggerPockets.com, host of the BiggerPockets podcast, and today I want to define what an accredited investor is and why you want to become one. Stay tuned. Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Brandon Turner, the author of the book on rental property investing and a bunch of other books, and today I want to explain what an accredited investor is. The short answer is accredited investor is somebody who makes a lot of money, and the government knows are smart enough to handle more complex investments. But today I want to explain the details. Being an accredited investor can mean a lot of different things, both in the legal sense and in the financial opportunities available to you. So before diving fully into what legally defines an accredited investor, let's begin quickly with a tangible, real-world example of the superpowers an accredited investor has. Don't laugh at my small muscles. So let's say a real estate investor like myself wants to raise money from people in a real estate deal, something I'm actually doing right now. That's called a syndicator or a syndication. So when you start raising money, at least here in the United States, the government gets pretty involved. They don't want you losing poor grandma's money. So the government requires syndicators like myself to follow certain rules when raising that cash. Now, there are a couple options for syndicators, and the specific way that you set up your syndication or your fund will determine what kind of investors you can bring in, accredited or not. For example, I just opened something called a 506c fund, which means I can publicly talk about my real estate fund like I'm doing right now, but I literally cannot accept money from anybody who's not an accredited investor, like even my own mom. Do you see what I mean by superpowers? If you're an accredited investor, you can get into some pretty awesome deals that the rest of the population just can't. Now, if you're not accredited, don't fret. There are other ways for syndicators to raise money. I mean, there's a thing called the 506b, which allows for up to 35 non-accredited investors to join as long as they are sophisticated, which I'll talk about in just a second, and they have some kind of relationship with the investor, the syndicator. So what does sophisticated mean? Well, that basically just means they know their way around a real estate deal. But it's something that's really kind of subjective, a little bit vague. And of course, because it's the government, there are other avenues as well. But for now, I hope this provides a clear example of the perks that an accredited investor is entitled to. Besides just sounding impressive, accredited investors find themselves in a financial class above the average investor. While the average investor only has access to opportunities limited within the regulated public markets, accredited investors are eligible to invest in private offerings like syndications, like I just talked about, or early stage business startups with the potential for both huge reward but also huge risk. So since these small private offerings are not regulated by the SEC, the Security and Exchange Commission, the investor assumes the total responsibility and a higher potential for losing their investment. With this risk though comes potential for astronomical financial gains if the business succeeds. They'll be one of the first people in the door and will have all the perks that come with it. So let's get to it. Legally, what is an accredited investor? Well, good question. Because even if you are one, nobody would have told you that. Although the designation of accredited investor carries huge implications for you and your financial life and the opportunities that you can participate in, there's no formal process, there's no exam, there's no document that says, now you are accredited, congratulations. Nothing to hang on your wall. Accredited investors are considered to be such only if they meet certain legal definitions spelled out by the SEC. It's the duty of the businesses accepting investors or selling the shares in exchange for capital to confirm that their investing partners meet the legal requirements. So in other words, I have to double check that my investors are accredited. Although there are regulations that dictate how an organization or a corporation can be considered an accredited investor, for our purposes, we're going to focus specifically on how individuals and couples, can become accredited. The SEC deems an individual or married couple to be accredited if they meet one of the following criteria. Either A, they have a minimal annual income for the past 2 years of $200,000 a year for the individual, or $300,000 a year for married couples, and that income must be reasonably expected to continue. Or B, they have an individual or combined net worth of at least $1 million, not including their primary residence. The reason the SEC has these rules listed in Regulation D, Reg D we call it, goes back to the very purpose of the SEC's creation, which is to protect investors. The above requirements are to ensure that anyone assuming these substantial risks has the financial backing to weather and withstand the worst case scenarios. This is the government's equivalent of saying, you're a big boy now, figure it out. The kid gloves are coming off. So, you're deemed to be an accredited investor. Congrats! You're now held responsible to make your own informed and calculated decisions. I know that just because you're now labeled accredited doesn't mean that you will necessarily feel any more proficient than before. It is actually now more important than ever to educate yourself and thoroughly analyze every deal that you participate in. Proficiency will come only through education and experience. So diligently do your due diligence. You now have entry into the world of real estate syndication, venture capital, angel investing, and other opportunities that are not accessible to the average person. Make sure to not take this responsibility lightly. It's quite something that you've made it this far to earn the title, so take a moment to be thankful for where you are and then go out and make the most of it. And hey, if you like this video today, do me a favor and click that little thumbs up button below the video. It really helps us out. And subscribe to our channel here for more real estate investing, wealth building, personal finance videos. For BiggerPockets.com, my name is Brandon Turner, signing off.